There's a hole in my heart.
We are Jason and Christy Matson, and this is our story. And our story drastically changed last October when Emily was diagnosed type 1 diabetic, and then changed again in December when Samantha was diagnosed type 1 diabetic. But we are doing well, and things are going well, and the girls are amazingly resilient.
This is my sister Emily. This is my sister Sammy. And we have diabetes.
So type 1 diabetes is where your pancreas no longer produces insulin. So insulin is what breaks down your food and turns food into energy. So both girls do not have insulin in their bodies. So that is why we have to give them insulin via shots or via their pump. Basically, without it, like for instance, 2 weeks ago when Emily went into the hospital, her body had been without insulin for 12 hours. So she had gone into DKA, which is basically going towards a diabetic coma. So without insulin in her body, she cannot process her food correctly. She'll lose weight, that kind of a thing. I was first diagnosed with type 1 diabetes in October of 2014. Her symptoms basically were that she was hungry and thirsty all the time. She was peeing like crazy at all times of the day, all night, waking up throughout the night, that kind of thing. We were at a pumpkin farm and she was just crazy hungry all day long. That next day, and I think this was a God thing, I spoke with a friend who was at a football game and I said, Emily's been peeing all the time and she's super thirsty, like crazy thirsty. And she looked at me and she said, I don't want to scare you, but my daughter was diagnosed at 2 years old as type 1 diabetic, and what you're describing is exactly what that is. So we went home that day and we actually went to Pop and Grandma's house, and my father-in-law is type 2 diabetic, so we ended up checking her sugar, and sure enough it came up HI, which basically means that her sugar level was over 600. So a typical sugar level is between 80 and 120. So she was way, way above that. The meter couldn't even read her. So we ended up going down to the hospital, to the ER, and she was admitted into Lurie's, and we went through training. And so Jason and I spent 2 nights and 3 days learning all about diabetes and how to care for our daughter, how to give her shots. We actually had to learn how to drop insulin into a syringe and actually had to give her shots. She was 3 years old at the time, and it's amazing how resilient she was and how really go with the flow she was. The nurses were amazed with how great she was. So when we got home from the hospital with Emily, we went and checked every one of our kids to see if they were also diabetic. Checked everyone's sugar levels, and everything was very, very much normal. In December, I started to notice that Samantha had drank her water bottle every single day, and she just had to pee like she was gonna die if she didn't go. So one Saturday we were at a basketball game with her cousins and went out to lunch, and I sat there and I said, let's just check your sugar, and she flipped out on me. She did not want to check her sugar, and I think she had known for many days that she was diabetic probably. So at this point in time we went and checked her sugar and it read HI. And I looked at Jason and I said, no way, check yours, because I don't believe that it's true. So we came home and we sat in her room and we packed a bag, and we both started to cry because we can't believe that this is another kid that we have to, accept that she's diabetic. That night I sat on the floor with her, and Sammy, after she cried for a minute, she looked at me and she said, okay, let's go to the hospital. And I said, you know what we can do? We can go and we can try and raise money to stop diabetes and to make a difference in the world. And so I looked at her and I said, you could be a doctor, and you could be a diabetic doctor, and you could help find the cure. And so at that point in time, I think she accepted that she was diabetic and she moved on.
This is how I check my sugar. So first I clean my finger and then you let it dry a little. And then you flip this thing and then you just break it.
And we wait for the beep. Okay, so her number is 220. It says Emily, yeah. So we confirm it, right? And then we're gonna prick your finger, right? Let me get our blood out.
then put on the side.
Let me wait for the
And
beep.
it did it.
Let's see what it is.
And do it.
Oh, and you're 101. Perfect. So about 2 months ago, both girls were put on a pump, and basically the pump allows for insulin to be injected into their body without having to receive shots. Every 2 to 3 days, we change the girls' pumps, and the pump is what allows them to get their insulin via an injection site versus getting it via shots. You ready? We're gonna take the pad off, okay? So these get changed every 2 to 3 days. There you go, all better. Where do you want to have your pod this time?
My back.
On your back, okay. So we're gonna put it on your back. Okay. So this is how she gets her insulin. So she no longer has to take, yeah, that's fine. She no longer has to take shots. She gets her pod on, and then the pod we fill with insulin. And I think that's what's fascinating, is this much insulin lasts her for 3 days. So to me, it's crazy the small amount of insulin that makes the big difference in her body. All right, so here we go.
Press the start button.
Hold on. So this is the pink thing. It's gonna move forward, and that's gonna insert it into her body. So listen for the beeps. Right? Listen. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Woo! There we go. And it's in. And then you're done. Hey, give me a high five.
Nice job, Em.
Good. I did the ouch.
You did a good job.
Said ouch after.
And that's it. You smile. We are raising money for JDRF, and we are Team Diabetes and Diacuties. It's our goal to make sure that these girls understand that this is not a disability for them, but this is something that's going to make them unique. And that's something that hopefully will drive them to make this world a better place. God made them beautiful, even if it is with diabetes. We're asking for you, our friends, to join in donating or joining our team as we walk for a cure. The money that we are trying to raise goes for research. The more I learn about what JDRF does and what they stand for, the more I'm encouraged about how far research has taken diabetes already. They're in clinical trials for artificial pancreases. So the one day, my girls may not have to test their fingers anymore to check their blood. They may no longer have to get insulin shots. They can basically have a normal pancreas that acts the same way that mine does, so that they don't have to go through these trials. And so that is why we are here today, asking for donations or even just support to show these girls that they're not alone in this disease.